Okay, so before I start with this video, just completely throw every bit of knowledge, every bit of rivalry, everything that you know about college football and its divisions and conferences out the window. This is purely for fun and just for geography, really, I guess. But with that out of the way, I have made completely brand new college football conferences. And as you can see, they are completely geography based. Obviously, in the beginning of a lot of these conferences, they were geography based, like the Big Ten in the Midwest, the SEC in the Southeast, the ACC on the Atlantic coast, you know, that sort of stuff. And I guess let's just start on the East Coast with the independents. These are going to be all of the teams in Maryland, Pennsylvania, New York, and Massachusetts, as well as including Rutgers and UConn. I generally just put the independents here because there's already all of their members were like, you know, UConn and that stuff. So I mean, I feel like it just made sense. Next up is the Big 12. Also, this is a perfect time to bring up the other thing that I did, is that for all of the conferences that have like Big 10 or 12 or whatever, I actually put that amount in the conference. So for the Big 12, I put all of West Virginia and all of Ohio, as well as a bit of actual Virginia. So yes, Ohio State will now have to play with the likes of James Madison and Akron and Kent State. Sorry, Ohio State. Actually, I don't care. They can f*** off. And next up, we have the Atlantic Coast Conference. Obviously, I put them on the Atlantic Coast. Obviously, not all of them were in the coast, but I wanted it to be like, at least all of them were like 1 to 3 schools away from the coast. So we're stretching all the way from Georgia Tech and Georgia, all the way up to Old Dominion and Liberty, through all of the Carolinas, except for Wake Forest and Appalachian State. Those are in Conference USA. Now moving to this most southern division, I don't think Hawaii is more southern. It totally could be though. We got the Florida division, also known as the SEC. Yeah, it's just all of Florida, as well as half of Georgia and Alabama. And then the Sun Belt Conference. We got all of Louisiana, all of Mississippi, and like 50%, I guess, of Alabama, from the likes of the Ragin' Cajuns and LSU, up to UAB and Ole Miss. Now for the middle conference of this whole map, we got Conference USA. And Conference USA, I believe, has the most members here, with 15. I can't remember if someone else does. I'm sure you'll be able to figure that out if you want to. But this is going to stretch all the way down from northern Georgia and northern Alabama to the likes of Wake Forest and Virginia Tech, all the way up to Purdue in Indiana, encompassing all of Tennessee and Kentucky. And then the Big 10, I kept it as Midwest as I physically could. Unfortunately, I had to get rid of Iowa and, you know, like Illinois and those big ones for the integrity of only 10 teams, because there's so many in Michigan and, you know, the 2 northern Illinois teams. So yeah, I made it as Midwest as I could. I got the most Midwest states in Minnesota and Wisconsin, so I think it's good enough. And then over here in the MAC, Mid-American, pretty much as central and mid as you can get. And we got every team in Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, Kansas, Nebraska, and Iowa, as well as including the Fighting Illini. Now, what do people outside of the USA think of when they think of America? They think of Texas and those types of people. So I just put the American division, or I guess the American conference, in Texas, and it's just every team. It is just Texas, and there's enough teams in Texas that it works. So yeah, this is literally just a Texas conference. And then next up, we have the Pacific Atlantic Conference. I couldn't put it on the Pacific because I wanted the Mountain West to be like, you know, mountains west. And I want, okay, yeah, but Pacific Atlantic is everything from Arizona and New Mexico all the way up to Boise State in Idaho, encompassing all of, obviously, Wyoming, Utah, Colorado, New Mexico, and Arizona. And now the Mountain West. I probably could have flipped them with the Pac-12, but I kind of wanted them, like, the Mountain West to be, like, the west of the Rocky Mountains, so that's kind of just what I did. But yes, Mountain West is everything from Washington all the way down to Hawaii and all of California, as well as including Oregon and Nevada. So here it is, the full map of interesting scenario that would probably have happened if conferences didn't just become about money and TV and all that. But now for the second part of this video, we got a full season simulation and maybe a little bit more in College Football 25. So as you can see, I have every single team correctly aligned. But yeah, here we are in this made up place, and I guess let's just go to week 15. And I'm sure this is also going to have astronomical things on the college football playoffs, but I don't really know the rules, so yeah. But it looks like Wisconsin is going to be playing Michigan for the Big Ten championship. That definitely makes sense because it's no longer like Ohio State or anything, so Wisconsin is easily the second best team along with Michigan. I guess Notre Dame, though, I forgot about them. Yeah, they're here as well, so surprise Wisconsin, go UW. Guess let's just look at the conference standings now. Taking a first look at the ACC, the Atlantic Coast Conference. Georgia, obviously, then NC State. Clemson had a really good year. Liberty, they're ranked. Old Dominion, they also did pretty good. That's very surprising. But some of the worst teams include like Charlotte, 2-10 and 1-7. Coastal Carolina also 1-7 in the conference. Now the Texas division, Baylor did the best, but there was 4 9-3 teams. Wow. Okay, starting with Baylor, they were 9-3, 7-1 in the conference. Same as Texas A&M and Rice. Oh my God, they were 7-1, 9-3, and they weren't even ranked, but all these other guys are ranked. That's crazy. Texas State, which also does really well for whatever reason. Texas, they're not even like at the top. That's crazy. They're easily the best team by overall. At the bottom, it's UTEP, UTSA, Sam Houston, sure. Now looking at the Big 12, the Ohio division, obviously Ohio State, the namesake. Bowling Green did really well. Okay, they're 7-2. Virginia, Cincy, and West Virginia did really well as well. But at the bottom, Ohio, of course. But now here, okay, so Notre Dame, they lost 3 conference games. So they lost to Wisconsin, Michigan probably, and then someone else. That's crazy. But yeah, Michigan 12-0, Wisconsin 9-3. Northwestern did really well for Northwestern standards. But towards the bottom, it's going to be like Minnesota, Western Michigan, Northern Illinois, who all had the same record. Now for the biggest, I think tied for biggest, conference, we got Conference USA. Easily Kentucky won it at 10-2, 7-1 in the conference. Middle Tennessee, however, got the same stats and everything as Louisville, but they're not ranked, but Louisville is. Virginia Tech, Wake Forest, Memphis, Purdue, and Tennessee all up there as well. Tennessee didn't do too well. And then obviously at the bottom, Kennesaw State, Jacksonville State. Now for the independents, Penn State and Temple and Syracuse. Kind of a surprising top 3. Obviously, Penn State makes sense. Oh, hello, Vinny. What a good dog. But as I was saying, Penn State obviously makes sense at the top, but they're tied with Temple and Syracuse. And looks like something odd happened as not a single one of these teams played any of the other teams here. That's interesting. Obviously, Army and Navy are going to play this week, but I didn't care to simulate because who cares. But at the bottom, obviously, Army and a bunch of 5-win teams. Yeah, really not the best football conference, but Penn State, I guess, was good. Then in the MAC, we had Kansas State at the top at 11-1, 8-0 in the conference. The next rank down, Oklahoma State, 10-2, 7-1 in the conference. Then number 3, Oklahoma, were 9-3. Yeah, 5 ranked teams in the MAC. That's impressive. But towards the bottom, Iowa did not do well. That's very interesting. Now the Mountain West, I believe these guys are tied with the Conference USA for the biggest one. But Oregon, number 5, they're 10-2. USC, they're 8-4, but they're top 25, even though Cal was better, along with Stanford. And then towards the bottom, we got Washington State, San Diego State. Now for the Pac-12, Wyoming, yes, as I said, very surprising one here. They're 18th, and they're 10-2. But, ooh, another weird conference here. I'm guessing because of the previous conference. It's all messed up, but yeah, they did lose 1 in conference. BYU had the same record, and they were 1-0, so very interesting here. Very odd conference. Utah, wow, still behind Air Force. Oh my God. And towards the bottom, New Mexico State. Yeah. Now for the SEC. Oh, interesting. Only 2 top 25 teams with Florida State makes sense, and UCF. One 9-3, one 8-4, but the other 8-4 teams were South Alabama and Florida. But at the bottom, we got like FIU, Georgia Southern, Georgia State. And for the final conference, we got the Sun Belt as number 4, Auburn are 10-2. 7-1 in the conference. Alabama definitely behind them at 16th. And then Tulane and LSU. That's a fun one. And the worst one, obviously, ULM Monroe. UL Monroe, whatever. So I guess let's simulate to next week to see the bowl games. Now for all of the conference games, Conference USA is going to be Louisville and Kentucky. Big 12 is going to be Ohio State and Bowling Green. I have one thought about what that's going to look like. Then for the MAC, it's going to be Kansas State and Oklahoma State. Sun Belt is going to be LSU and Auburn. Remember, LSU is 7-5. ACC is going to be Rice and Baylor. Very interesting one there. And if Rice wins, they could very well be ranked. Then for Mountain West, we got Oregon and Cal. SEC is going to be Florida and South Alabama. Oh my god. ACC is going to be NC State and Georgia. And Big Ten, of course, is Michigan and Wisconsin. And I guess we'll watch a little bit of it. So far, not the best start for Wisconsin, I'd say. As into halftime, we are down 31-0, so okay, 3 points isn't going to get you much. Yeah, okay. I had a feeling it was going to go his way, but we made it here over Notre Dame, and that's all I care about, really. It looks like Carson Beck out of the ACC is going to win the Heisman. And looking at the conference championships, Kentucky rocked Louisville. Ohio State surprisingly still gave up 15 points to Bowling Green. Kansas State rocked Oklahoma State. LSU beat number 4 Auburn. Or at least they were number 4. And Rice actually beat Baylor. Oh my god, wow. And they're still not ranked. Insane. Oregon beat Cal. South Alabama beat Florida. Oh my god. Georgia obviously beat NC State, and we don't have to look at the last one. But the big part is the college football playoff brackets. So in the top left, we got number 8 NC State taking on number 9 Oklahoma State to potentially face Michigan. Then in the bottom left, we got number 3 Oklahoma taking on number 12 Wisconsin, and go UW, for the rights to face number 6 Oregon. Now in the Rose Bowl side, we got number 7 Ohio State facing number 10 SMU for the rights to play Georgia in the Rose Bowl. Then bottom right, we got 11 Auburn playing number 5 Texas A&M for the chance to play number 4 Kansas State in the Peach Bowl. So I guess let's just get into that. So now after week 1, Oklahoma State rocked NC State. Now they're going to be playing Michigan. And unfortunately, Oklahoma barely beat Wisconsin 20-15. To move on to Oregon. And then top right, Ohio State rocked SMU. They rocked a ranked opponent, but they couldn't rock Bowling Green. What is happening? But now they're going to be playing Georgia. And then Texas A&M just beat Auburn pretty handily, who, if you remember, were just number 4 in the country. And they will be playing Kansas State. But now after week 3 of the college football playoff, let's see what happened. As first of all, obviously Michigan beat Oklahoma State, but it was very close, only by 2 points. Then bottom left, Oregon rocked Oklahoma. And if you remember, Oregon is number 6, Oklahoma is only 3. But now in the right bottom, Texas A&M beat Kansas State. Texas A&M now moving on after winning 42-39. And another close one, Georgia beat Ohio State 28-24. But now looking at the second to final week of the college football playoff, we got the bowl results. Now, first of all, on the left side in the Cotton Bowl, Oregon beat number 1 Michigan to give them their first loss on the season, 34-26 to move on. And they will be playing Georgia as they beat Texas A&M 34-28. These are some good games, both 34 and like 26, 28 points. Man, good Orange Bowl, as we now have Oregon versus Georgia for the college football playoff. And also, I guess if you care, then here's all the awards for stuff. But here we are for the national championship in college football. We got the Oregon Ducks taking on the Georgia Bulldogs. The ACC versus the Mountain West. And here we go. We got the custom scoreboard that looks great, except for Oregon is just a really weird piss yellow that is very off-putting. But anyway, going into halftime, it is 10-10. Very close game, very defensive game. Both of them answered 17-17. End of third quarter, 24-17. As we slow down here for a second, it's 24-17. Georgia has the ball with 5 minutes left and the lead, but it's 4th and 2. They have to kick it. Let's see what the Ducks do with it. And here we go, a potential championship winning game for the Oregon Ducks in the Mountain West, which would be very good for the conference, obviously. And I am very curious as to what happens with the whole rankings, and I will check that out after this. But after a sack on first down, Oregon needs to get something happening. Obviously, the super strong rushing of the Georgia Bulldogs is getting to them once again. 3rd and 26. They still have 2 downs because they're obviously going to go for it on 4th down if they have to, I would think. So here we go. I don't know any college names, but there we go, and it's picked off. Okay. This is going to end up being a pretty dominant showing by the Georgia Bulldogs by the end of this, I think. And yeah, 34-17. This game is over. And here we go, the championship celebration. The Georgia Bulldogs, once again, are national champions. 3rd time in 4 years. 1st time for, obviously, the ACC, I believe. Yeah, I got that little Mountain West patch on the Ducks. Looks so weird. But there you go. Georgia Bulldogs are your national champions out of the ACC. And it was an interesting season, but a very, very predictable outcome. Carson Beck ends up winning player of the game with a decent game, I guess. 74 completion percentage, pretty good. And I guess the only thing left to do is to see how all of this ranks out the conferences, obviously now being geography-based, so I'll go see how that works. Okay, here we go. I can see how this works out, and wow, okay. The Mid-American is number 1. Which I guess makes sense. They had easily the most ranked teams before the bowl games last year, so that makes sense. Obviously, the ACC with all of, the winner of the whole thing, so that makes sense. Then the Texas division, American, wow. And then obviously Big Ten, they got like 3 big names, so I guess that makes sense. The Sun Belt, that's an interesting one, but I guess they got, what, Bama, right? I think so, yeah. And then Mountain West, yeah, with Oregon and all of them. I think they probably should be one higher than the Sun Belt, but that's interesting. Then Conference USA at number 7. I guess that makes sense. I mean, they have like Tennessee, but they don't have too much. The Big 12, obviously down there. And then the SEC. Wow, they have a lot of great teams. I mean, oh, wow, that's very, very crazy. And then the Pac-12. I guess that probably makes sense, and then the independents also definitely makes sense there. So, here's the final standings. The MAC are now number 1. The top 4, the big 4 are the MAC, ACC, American, and Big Ten. So I guess I hope you enjoyed, and yeah, I got more stuff for Men 25, College Football 25, and the NFL. I mean, Brandon Ayuk, he's about to get traded to the Browns, so hopefully it's Browns. I really don't want him to go to the Patriots. I don't know. I want him to succeed, and I think the Browns is the best option. But yeah, more on that stuff. And yes, I know if you've seen my recent video about ranking all of the NFL new uniforms, yes, I forgot the Lions. Okay, you can just look at any of the other comments. And I also didn't know that the Jets had alternate whites. I'm just counting that because I looked and it wasn't great. So like, yeah, stop commenting. Actually keep doing it. It's good for the algorithm. So be mad. Yeah, grr. But I really hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time. See ya.